Thanks for joining me. My name is Dave Miller. I am the Unpleasant Blind Guy. In 1998, Recep Tayyip Erdogan of Turkey wrote a poem which got him a conviction for inciting religious hatred. It said, in part, "The mosques are our barracks, the domes our helmets, the minarets our bayonets, and the faithful our soldiers." Erdogan served 4 months of a 10-month sentence, but is now the undisputed president and supreme government authority of Turkey, the United States' close NATO ally. As I record this on July the 18th of 2016, the United States of America and the rest of the world are experiencing Islamic terror attacks at an increasing frequency. Seemingly every week, there are news stories of more innocent people held hostage, tortured, and killed by Mohammedans. And what has been the civilized world's response? Our so-called leaders here in the United States of America tell us that we have to disarm for our safety. Popular media does everything that it can to deflect the American public from the knowledge that Islam is the prime mover in almost all terrorist attacks. They are joined by entertainment media who tell us the real danger are gun owners, Christians, and people on the political right. And perhaps worst of all, even some members of the new mainstream media still wish to minimize this threat with some of the same old arguments of "it's not every Muslim," and people who point out that something should be done about Islam are to be mocked and marginalized. Take a listen to this video from Linda Clements.
According to research, in order for a culture to maintain itself for more than 25 years, there must be a fertility rate of 2.11 children per family. With anything less, the culture will decline. Historically, no culture has ever reversed a 1.9 fertility rate. A rate of 1.3, impossible to reverse, because it would take 80 to 100 years to correct itself, and there is no economic model that can sustain a culture during that time. In other words, if 2 sets of parents each have 1 child, there are half as many children as parents. If those children have 1 child, then there are 1/4 as many grandchildren as grandparents. If only 1 million babies are born in 2006, it's hard to have 2 million adults enter the workforce in 2026. As the population shrinks, so does the culture. As of 2007, the fertility rate in France was 1.8, England 1.6, Greece 1.3, Germany 1.3, Italy 1.2, Spain 1.1. Across the entire European Union of 31 countries, the fertility is a mere 1.38. Historical research tells us these numbers are impossible to reverse. In a matter of years, Europe as we know it will cease to exist. Yet the population of Europe is not declining. Why? Immigration. Islamic immigration. Of all population growth in Europe since 1990, 90% has been Islamic immigration. France, 1.8 children per family. Muslims, 8.1. In southern France, traditionally one of the most populated church regions in the world, there are now more mosques than churches. 30% of children ages 20 and younger are Islamic. In the larger cities such as Nice, Marseille, and Paris, that number has grown to 45%. By 2027, 1 in 5 Frenchmen will be Muslim. In just 39 years, France will be an Islamic republic. In the last 30 years, the Muslim population of Great Britain rose from 82,000 to 2.5 million, a 30-fold increase. There are over 1,000 mosques, many of them former churches. In the Netherlands, 50% of all newborns are Muslim, and in only 15 years, half of the population of the Netherlands will be Muslim. In Russia, there are over 23 million Muslims. That's 1 out of 5 Russians. 40% of the entire Russian army will be Islamic in just a few short years. Currently in Belgium, 25% of the population and 50% of all newborns are Muslim. The government of Belgium has stated 1/3 of all European children will be born to Muslim families by 2025, just 17 years away. The German government, the first to talk about this publicly, recently released a statement saying, "The fall in the German population can no longer be stopped. Its downward spiral is no longer reversible. It will be a Muslim state by the year 2050. Muammar al-Gaddafi of Libya said, "There are signs that Allah will grant victory to Islam in Europe without swords, without guns, without conquest. We don't need terrorists. We don't need homicide bombers. The 50+ million Muslims in Europe will turn it into a Muslim continent within a few decades." There are currently 52 million Muslims in Europe. The German government said that number is expected to double in the next 20 years to 104 million. Closer to home, the numbers tell a similar story. Right now, Canada's fertility rate is 1.6, nearly a full point below what is required to sustain a culture. And Islam is now the fastest growing religion. Between 2001 and 2006, Canada's population increased by 1.6 million, 1.2 of those immigration. In the United States, the current fertility rate of American citizens is 1.6. With the influx of the Latino nations, the rate increases to 2.11, the bare minimum required to sustain a culture. In 1970, there were 100,000 Muslims in America. Today, there are over 9 million. The world is changing. It's time to wake up. 3 years ago, a meeting of 24 Islamic organizations was held in Chicago. The transcripts of that meeting showed in detail their plans to evangelize America through journalism, politics, education, and more. They said, "We must prepare ourselves for the reality that in 30 years, there will be 50 million Muslims living in America. The world that we live in is not the world in which our children and grandchildren will live." The Catholic Church recently reported that Islam has just surpassed their membership numbers. Some studies show that at Islam's current rate of growth, in 5 to 7 years, it will be the dominant religion of the world. As believers, we call upon you to join the effort to share the gospel message with the changing world. This is a call to action.
People, if the Judeo-Christian values that built the freest country in the history of man are to be preserved, we are going to have to wake up and realize the existential threat that Islam represents. If you know a nice Muslim, odds are that that individual is lulling you into a false sense of security. Think about it. Is your Muslim broheim going to tell you, "Yeah, man, I'm all about the Sharia patrols. Female genital mutilation so the ladies can't enjoy the sex? Hey, bring it on. Bring in the cutter. Child sex slavery? Hey, who doesn't like a little 5-year-old? Forced marriage? Sure, it's great. And hey, what's more fun than torturing cats and dogs to death? And honor killing? Well, sometimes you just got to do it." I don't think that's going to happen. Because if that nice Muslim revealed the true face of Islam, you would realize that something has to be done. The time has come for the removal of Islam from the United States of America. Almost all of us will come to understand that sooner or later. The later we do, the more the chance that the civilization that has been forged by Americans of all colors and all backgrounds into a nation of equals will cease to exist. In the face of a cacophony of denial from children willing to be led to the slaughter, we have to be the adults in the room. That's it for this time. I appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you for listening, and may your God go with you. Goodbye. The Unpleasant Blind Guy is copyright 2016 Anno Domini.